so it will be cut and it will be turned. So this is it. Okay, so that is how it's going to lay on top of this dress. Okay, the skirt part. So I'm going to cut now the first pocket and the second pocket. Okay, so these pockets, the facing will be on top of this, and this pocket will be at the back. Okay, so let me just finish cutting it, and I'm going to explain to you how we are going to sew this perfectly. So the pocket has to take the exact shape you have right here, because if you don't have it that way, then it's not going to match up with what you have on the skirt piece. So this is all I need. I have pocket 1, pocket 2. So this is how the pocket 2 is going to be. So by the time you add your seam allowances and stitch, this is what you will have. Your hand goes into here, and this is the facing which is going to lay on top of it. So let me now cut my pattern so I can explain this better for you. So what we have here now, I'm cutting the skirt part of this dress. Like I said, I'm separating skirts from the bustier parts. So I'll just cut. So note that we don't have this will be cut on fold. So since we are cutting here on fold, we don't have any button allowance for it. So I'm going to cut off the 1-inch button allowance. Then this is the opening of our pocket. So I'm going to cut the opening of the pocket, and I believe you are getting the gist now. So if this is your front piece of your fabric, the skirt part, I want to explain it for you to understand, since you are not having the sewing tutorial. So this is your front fabric. So if I have a fabric to cut, I'm going to lay my fabric on fold. That is if I have a fabric to cut. So if this is my fabric which I'm going to cut, I'm going to lay it on fold and cut. Can you see? I'll lay it on fold and cut. So if I cut, I'll be adding my seam allowances. Exactly, I'll add 0.5 inch, 1 inch on the side to sew the skirt, and half an inch the way we normally do it. That is for this. Secondly, you come and cut your facing 2 pieces, hairstay them, sew and turn. Okay, and or you can add your seam allowance. You can just do 1 piece instead of 2 pieces. Okay, 1 piece is okay. Hairstay 1 piece, add your seam allowance and top stitch. Okay, so you fold in and top stitch on top of it while you still have your seam allowance right here. So this will go with this. Don't get confused while doing this. This will be attached to this first. After this, you bring these 2, add their seam allowances as well. Okay, so this is going to be the inner pockets. After you have sewn this to this, this is going to be attached to this. The pattern at which you are going to sew this is after you have sewn this with seam allowance, you will be turning this way to sew and top stitch. So once you sew and top stitch, it goes back like this. Okay, so stage 1, sew this and top stitch on top of it with your seam allowance. Stage 2, bring in pocket 2. Okay, this is pocket 2. It's supposed to be here, but you are going to turn it this way. Okay, so after sewing together with the front skirt and turning around and top stitching, you have it neatly fixed like this. Okay, stage 3, bring in pocket 1 and lay on top. You lay on top and then stitch to hold it right here, raise up the skirt piece and sew. Okay, so we have a seam that we usually use for this. It's called the French seam. Okay, so but in this tutorial we are not going to talk about French seam. It's only when we are stitching this you get to know. So you can also sew inwards and turn before you place. So this is how it's going to be. So at the end of the day, you have your pockets. You now put in your pockets, as you can see. You put your hands, and by that time you have sewn this to hold this, sewn this to hold this, and you have the pocket. You can see the pocket right here. So this class is really an advanced class. So if you're a beginner, I would not advise you to go into this unless we have the sewing tutorial. So I will set this aside. At least I've explained enough on it. So coming to the upper bodice, I'm going to cut my upper bodice pattern now. So this is how the upper bodice is going to go. I'm cutting my shoulder seam line. I'll cut my natural neckline, which I'm going to attach my mandarin collar. So these are my buttons. So I'm cutting 2 times of this. So at the end of the day, you have the button allowance. Okay, so one button overlaps the other when you are sewing it. So I'm going to cut off my darts right now, so I'll be able to. Okay, so I'll cut it to that point, so I'll be able to close up my bust dart. So I take off the darts, I cut on this, and then I place mine. So this is it. So I've closed up my bust dart and I'll cut this pattern. Okay, so I will be naming these patterns. This is front 1, F1, F2, F3 and F4. So that is how the pattern will be named, because we have a lot of pieces for them. So I'll just cut from here now. I'm cutting it right into the button allowance. It has its own button allowance separately. So you can see these are the pieces we have right here. So the method of sewing is this. Once you have padded your bustier the way you know how, sew from below, and this is your bustier. So what I was saying is, if you don't know how to sew cups, please, I'm going to add our princess dart accommodation. So let me just add the princess dart accommodation for you, for those who might not be able to sew their cups perfectly. So I'll just add so you don't have shortage at that point. So we normally do this when we are creating princess darts. So I'll just come in here with my pattern ruler, and I'm going to extend by 0.5, 0.75, and I actually need this thing to get here. The paper I have here is supposed to get to the armhole. So this is it. So I'm going to add again. From this point, I'll add 0.75, and I'm going to place my pattern ruler from that 0.75 to the armhole. Okay, so I have accommodated that right away, so it makes our work a whole easier for us at this point. Okay, so I'll cut now from that point. So when you are sewing now, okay, once you get here, the accommodation that will rhyme and fit into this line. So after that is done, the next you will do is to bring this one and sew from the neckline to this point. Can you see? So everything is taking shape. And after that, you cut this 2 times and make sure it aligns on this. And finally, your mandarin collar for front and back. You are going to take your measurement of mandarin collar. I have a detailed video on this channel on how to make a mandarin collar as well, so you can go there and watch. So for the back, the same thing I did for the back, cutting this to this, exactly the same thing. The difference is that the back neckline is higher and there's no bustier on the back, but just exactly the same thing. We are going to do both the connection but without the F2. Okay, it's only the front that has the F2, unless you want to add the F2, so you can be creative with it as well. So that is how we come to the end of this tutorial, and I believe you learned a lot from this class. So this particular drafting we had right now, for the down part of it, you can use it to make only skirts. That is if you want to make only skirts, or you want to make, there are so many designs trending on this time right now. So this is how to go about it. Okay, the pocket drafting. So you have to be creative while you do your work. So that is how we'll come to the end of this tutorial. Thank you for coming, and see you in the next one. Bye.